morning, everybody. My name is Dana Glantz. I'm going to sort of moderate this panel for you today. I'm with the residents at Bala Cynwyd. We're going to be a new senior living community on the edge of Bala Cynwyd, right before Manayunk, Belmont Ave, and Rock Hill Road near 76. And we're going to open sometime this summer. We have independent living, personal care, memory care. The thing about the residents at Bala Cynwyd is, whether you live there or not, we like to be good community partners and good neighbors. So we employ a great staff, and we have everything you would need for, just like every other community might have, but we also have a social worker who helps anybody who needs it with any type of question or senior living issue or elder care issue. If we don't have the answers, we'll help you find them, and it's a free service. So my cards are in the back, and our brochure is in the back, and you're welcome to take that. So this morning, we have a panel because we have decided that it's important to ask some questions, right? As we're aging in place, we're thinking about what we're doing next, whether it's tennis tomorrow, or maybe we're shifting from tennis to pickleball. Anybody? Whatever we're doing, we have to keep moving forward and in a positive way, and the best way to do that is knowledge, right? And knowledge is power. So I want to introduce the folks on our panel, and I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves. You'll see, before I do that, you'll see two little green bags for me on the end. Those are little prizes. I'm going to test your memory. How's that? A couple fun facts as we speak. They'll be sprinkled in to our presentation, and whoever remembers at the end wins the little prize. The first fact I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to ask, it's a question. Does anyone know the last color your brain remembers?
White.
Is that a no? White? Green. The last color your brain remembers is green. There's a lot of science in senior living communities, especially the new builds. So here's a fun fact. In our memory care, only in our memory care, the adjacent wall to the toilet is painted green, and the seat of the toilet it's a green toilet seat. And our associates that work in memory care wear green polo shirts. Why is this? It's the last color our brain remembers. It keeps folks continent longer. It keeps them, which keeps their dignity longer, which keeps cost of consumables down and labor down, right? And it's a really interesting study. The residents of Bala Cynwyd and our parent company, LCB Living, is very big on memory care and brain research. So we partner with Harvard, with Dr. Rudy Tanzi. We have Mediterranean diet. We do have other food, of course, but we lean toward the Mediterranean diet for brain health, for good brain health. And we have a lot of interesting things. Just like you go to the doctor and get an EKG, there's a virtual reality goggle that you play a little game for 4 minutes, and you have that same strip of paper that gives you a baseline of your brain health. So there's lots going on, obviously, in Alzheimer's and dementia research, and lots we still don't know, and we're really proud to be partners in that journey to figure out how and what's going to happen next. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Lorri Bernstein from Senior Living Specialist.
Hi everyone, my name is Lorri Bernstein. I'm from Senior Living Specialist.
Talk louder.
We have a service that helps people navigate the maze of finding senior living options, whether it's independent living, whether it's personal care and assisted living, or memory care. I have a wonderful team, Mindy Mosenter, Desi Boston, and myself in this area, and we go on the journeys with families. We are complimentary. We help, we do an assessment, we sit down, we find out what your needs are, we find out what your desires are, what kind of people you are, who you like to hang out with, what activities you like to do, and based on those, as well as the geographic location, as well as what your physical needs might be at the time, we will go on the search. We find there are communities all over the place. It's a very overwhelming process, and we just try to make it a little less stressful. Once we start touring communities, then we narrow them down based on, some feel better than others, some feel, there's different things that come out as you start touring. We can help negotiate the rates if there's negotiation to be had. It kind of depends on what kind of climate we're in for the communities. And then we also make sure that your expectations are met once you're there. We have a lot of tools in our toolbox. I work with all these wonderful people here, and I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to share their resources as well. And it's something that we just do because we really care about our families. So I'm really happy to meet you all, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Jonathan?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jonathan Miller.
I'm Michael Mastroieni.
And we're Longevity Income Solutions. But first, I just want to thank everybody for coming out this morning.
It's beautiful.
It's not the most beautiful day,
Gorgeous
and
day.
I think everybody's drying out a little bit. So thank you for taking the time. The first step is being able to come to this room and sit down and to have a discussion. And that's what this is about today. We have a panel here that enables you to, from an educational standpoint, learn something. And hopefully you do walk out with an understanding that it does take sometimes a small village to put together the right planning that's needed when you start, understanding that life is changing and that maybe you need to look at things a little bit differently because of maybe there's some health conditions that are happening, and maybe you're looking at potentially there might be some care needs
Or
that
just
will be
general
happening.
planning in the future. I
Yeah.
didn't interrupt from there, but
Yeah.
we realize at all times, the smarter we are when we don't know what we don't know. So when we take the opportunity to go and listen, to hear different opinions, different thoughts, and different ways to figure out what's good ideas for next steps, we make the best decisions. So Longevity Income Solutions, we specialize in financial planning as we age and as we need to look forward to the future and planning for potential care needs, just making sure I have to be able to enjoy what I want to do moving forward, and allowing ourselves the permission to go and use the assets we have to enjoy life. Sometimes we feel constrained by what we can do, and we want to give you the opportunity to realize that you have stuff and you have assets and you can use them to do what you want.
And you worked hard your whole life to accumulate these assets, so you want to make sure that they're being used in the right capacity, and to make sure that whatever type of situation that you feel is necessary for yourself, whatever, if you're going to be moving, downsizing, or what have you, that we take into consideration and look at those factors to what's best for you and your family. Thank you.
Thank you.
David?
Thank you, guys. My name is David Reibstein. I'm president of S3 Living Strategic Senior Solutions. I have a team that helps seniors move to retirement communities and then sell or help with the sale of your home. So we help families who are considering independent living, either in a continuing care retirement community or in a 55-plus community. We really help with the guidance of understanding all of the different types of contracts that are offered, different types of amenities, different types of communities, whether it's a rental community or entrance fee community on the continuing care retirement community side. And then also on the 55-plus community side, we can help identify what the right community is for you depending on where you are, where you want to be, what your goals and aspirations are as you age. So we mentioned pickleball. I'll give you another fact, another fun fact. Has anybody ever played pickleball? Does everybody know what that is? Pickleball is like a small tennis game or big ping pong game. The name pickleball came from, you'll learn about this as you get more into more communities. Pickleball comes from the dog that would chase the ball when it would get lost. The dog's name was Pickles. This is true. Pickles found the ball. So that's how they came up with the name pickleball. So again, I'm David Reibstein with S3 Living. I'm really looking forward to this panel because I think there's a lot of questions that you guys might have, and if we can really have a discussion about your specific needs or more general needs. And as we go through it, I would ask you maybe to consider writing down your questions so we can have a real discussion. And at the end of the program, we'll have, I will collect these forms that are in the back table. We'll have a drawing for 3 Amazon gift cards, $25 each. And hopefully you guys can walk away with those once we collect the forms. And with that, I think I'll turn it over to our moderator potentially,
I think I'm gonna
Dana
stand
Glantz.
here.
Dave, don't forget about the Echo Dot.
And
that's
I
gonna-
did, I forgot about the Echo
Yeah,
Dot.
you forgot about
And we're
the
also
Echo
gonna do a
Dot.
drawing for the Echo Dot as well.
Great.
So that form in the back you need to fill out, and we'll collect it at the end.
Yes.
So, again, we're gonna start maybe with some prepared questions, and then, we'll look to you guys to really have a conversation.
And Dan, I think it's important also, this is informal, right?
It's very informal,
So if there's a question and we're in a topic, and please, feel free to, at that point, either just to get our attention, if you don't have to wait to the end of the presentation, whatever you need to do to get our attention, but it's just, let's make sure that we're addressing this as a group and handling any questions that anybody has at the time of need.
Right, and I think to Jonathan's point, we have not met you. This is our first time meeting you. So we've prepared some questions that we think
Might
are
be on your
general,
mind.
might be on your mind. They might not be. So if not, shout out. We'll move on to the next question, right?
Fair enough.
Okay, so our first question is, when do you think the right time to start looking for senior living is?
Yesterday.
Excellent answer.
I always think it's earlier than exactly what you said yesterday, because when I'm working with people, I always say, empower yourself to do the search, because many people do not want their children, adult children, to make decisions for them, and if it becomes a crisis, that's what happens. And so if you could empower yourself to look forward, whether you do it now or not, that's not the issue, it's really making a game plan. So yesterday was the perfect answer.
Yesterday was the perfect answer. Knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
That's what we said. Okay. What are some of the myths of senior living communities? Are they really just to go in, get a room, shut the door, and stay in your room and watch TV? Is that what people do?
They're all nursing homes.
They're all nursing homes.
Or you need to have medical conditions extreme to have to be able to participate or move into a community, which isn't always necessarily the case.
Correct. When someone moves into a senior living community, are they always there? Is that their permanent home?
No,
Nope.
no.
Some folks, they're, again, planning ahead, and they're traveling. Perhaps they're visiting 6 months out of the year with their families, or they're in Florida or somewhere warm, or they're up here. Anybody? Anyone else?
I think what Michael said, that people think of it, a lot of times, I talk to so many people who say, like I remember going to the nursing home to see my grandparents, and that's not me. But things have changed, and you walk into some of these places, it's pretty vibrant, it's very vibrant. In a lot
The
of these
activities,
places.
yeah.
Vibrant.
The things that they offer.
Restaurant-trained chefs, gourmet dining, really a country club atmosphere, and that does not just coincide with a price tag, right? It's not only the highest, most expensive places that have those atmospheres. You can find that on many levels.
And I think they're not. It's not a cookie cutter situation.
Correct.
Like there are each community has its own specific maybe activities or wants or needs for a certain clientele. There's certain people that they would like to then maybe downsize from a house. What David deals with on a day-to-day basis. But don't look at it saying, oh, they're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time to find the right living environment, and where you would want to move to. So just keep that in the back of your mind, that don't look at it as just all one type of a community. There's many different choices out there.
The analogy that we like to use is that it's sort of like if you remember taking your kids around for a
I was
college
just
tour.
going to say that.
Yeah.
A lot of communities have their own types, as John was saying, a lot of communities have their own personalities that, there may be, some of them are more urban, some of them are more campus-like, some of them are smaller, some of them are larger. There's a lot of different types of communities, and you really need to look and see which community fits your personality.
There's generally one out there
Right.
that fits most everyone's needs. So it's quite an interesting industry anymore, and how it's changed over the years. And I think, to your point with saying yesterday is the best time to look, the more you challenge yourself to go out and see what's available, the more it stays top of mind. Because we routinely see that it always shelters back to the last time you had an experience, and it might have been, a family member that had been in more of a care need. So you're not looking at it as being something that allows you to be independent and vibrant and do things like that. And it doesn't about taking away your independence and having to go down a routine. There are many different styles that are out there that you could just come and go as if it was more of an apartment setting and never have to be responsible to go to a certain event. Or there's ones that people like the organization and the ability to connect with other people and enjoy, the camaraderie of people that are like-minded in that environment.
I'm going to add to that a little bit. Have something or nothing on your calendar next week. Make an appointment. Go tour. Don't think it's a heavy-duty sales pitch. Maybe some are, maybe some aren't. You're the consumer. You have every right. You can say, I'm not looking, my 5-year, 10-year plan may be, but I'm interested to gather some information. It's really fun. Sometimes you can enjoy, post-COVID now as we're coming out of COVID, you can enjoy a meal in the dining room. You can be involved in some activities. There may be a great program they're offering. Oftentimes communities offer programming to the external community as well. And you can see some great concerts. You can see some, there was a magic show somewhere recently. There's some really great movies, films, whatever, great stuff out there. And as the consumer, you can go, you can view it and enjoy it. And it's free.
And I think it starts the planning process.
It starts the planning
Right,
process.
I mean, it's really, that's the thing that if we come out of this meeting today, is understanding that if we can get that planning started, and get that moving forward, it makes life so much easier, because because you have options, and you have choices, and that's what you want, and that's what part of this planning is.
So this is a David question, really.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
If you make an appointment, will you be likely to see the different apartments?
Yes, there are always models.
Okay.
There's usually, so if there are studio 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, let's say, there's usually a model of each. So,
And one of the things you can do is talk to the person when you're making the appointment, say, I want to see a 1-bedroom, or I want to see a 2-bedroom. And
let them
they'll
know.
Let them know.
Right. And if there's something else specific that interests you, let them know on the phone so they can make the arrangement to do that for you. Many of you may own a home or a condo, maybe living in that, and the question really is now the right time from a real estate perspective?
So I'm going to take that one. As the real estate agent in the room, is now the right time to sell your house? Is now the right time to move? It depends on your situation, depends on whether you are looking forward to living in a retirement community. But if you are, your house is worth more today than it's been in probably your lifetime, but at least in the last year or two. Nationally, homes have increased in value by 19% in the last 2 years. And I have some statistics here in greater Philadelphia. Well, I'll go by county maybe. In counties, in Montgomery County, houses increased by 8%, in Chester County 16%, in Delaware County 12%, in Philadelphia County by 9%. Housing values have gone up. So to the question of timing, you're going to sell your house for more today than you have in the past. That's generally a good thing. What holds people back from selling their home is, having a place to move to. If you sell your home, you have to put your head on the pillow somewhere. This is the process of starting where you're going to put your head on the pillow so that you can find the right community for you. Know that in terms of timing, now is a good time to sell your house. In terms of days on market, in terms of time it takes to sell your home, it's as quick as it's ever been as well. Most homes today are selling in the 1 to 2 week range if it's priced right and it has been taken care of. And if those aren't the cases, the price really matters. So if you can price it right, it'll sell quickly.
And I think, David, if I might
Yeah.
just interject, I
Please.
think part of also what you also specialize in, have to deal with also is a lot of people are moving from their homes into a community which is a smaller setting, so it's that downsizing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
issue. So I'm sorry, did I?
No,
That's the
good.
next question.
It's the next question, so
Right.
we'll go into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
please,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
So
so a lot of people say, I really want to move to a community, but I can't get out of my house, I can't do it, and Dana, you probably get this a lot, you guys all get this a lot. You know, the number one reason I can't move, you could probably think of it. I think I might have heard somebody mouth it. What? Too much stuff.
It's
Yes.
called you're suffocating.
You're suffocating. I've
You're
never heard that.
suffocating.
You're
Mhm.
suffocating. So it's I mean, I see people nodding. Everybody, we've done these panels before. We've done these conversations before. Everybody says, I have too much stuff. Listen, we have been blessed in this environment, in this in this part of the country, to have extra rooms in our houses. How many people had houses where they were raising their kids and their kids had bedrooms in their home? Everybody sort of had that scenario? And what did you do when they moved out? Did you make a big closet out of their room? You added stuff. You don't. We have a real opportunity to not have to downsize or not have to declutter or not have to get rid of the things that we have. We can continue to acquire. How many people have basements? How many people have attics? There's stuff in there that you probably, I don't want to be too bold or too presumptuous, but you probably don't use everything that you have, right? And you probably
Or even know it's down.
or even know what you have,
Or you moved it and never opened the box.
or you that happens all the
Might
time.
need it someday.
So
Not
so
sure.
as we get to the decluttering question, the how do I get rid of my stuff? I have too much stuff. What do I do? I really want to take advantage of living at a great community like Bala, but I can't seem to get rid of the things in my house. So what do we do? The good news is that the community's not opening for a couple months. In that time, you can downsize. And by downsize, I mean you can start the process slowly and take your time so that it doesn't become overwhelming. And there are a lot of tricks to the trade. I feel like I'm talking for a long period of time, so I don't want to cut anybody off, but a lot of the tricks of the trade are, you probably live in your bedroom and your kitchen and your living room, and you probably don't need more space than that, even though you like having it. So if you went to the third bedroom and started to declutter the things that are in that room and focused on that project for a day and then didn't think about it for a while, it becomes less overwhelming. By the way, the things in the third bedroom, you don't need any of it. There's nothing in there you need. But, it becomes difficult.
Hold on.
Yes.
It's always the photographs, and it's the, 8mm or the VCRs
Or the slides,
or the slides.
slide carousel.
Oh, the big slide carousel, right? Those are memories. Those are all amazing memories, and they're physical, and they're taking up a lot of space. There are companies out there, not expensive. They'll digitize everything for you and put it either on a little thumb drive or on a disk, however you want it. And when you're going through all of that stuff, oftentimes you'll find some fabulous memory, some picture that you haven't seen in 30 years that you love, and that's what ends up hanging on your wall instead of the thing that you thought you wanted forever that's been on your dining room wall forever.
And it also is the thing that you really have the positive takeaway from doing this experience. Like,
Correct.
you'll see something that you haven't seen in 25 years or whatever long it is, and you'll remember, it'll take you back to that time, and it'll be really rewarding. And that's probably the reason why you want to start the process, even though it is very
And the
stressful.
other piece of that is that it's a catalyst to share memories and to share family history or to share friendships. Look what you'll go out to dinner with a friend. Look what I found. We were friends in grade school.
Exactly.
Or-
You signed my yearbook, or
Right.
this is what you wrote.
Or look, my daughter graduated from ballet school and here's the tutu. Okay, we don't need the tutu anymore. It's got mothballs. But how fun was it to remember that day?
But there's great resources out there.
Great
right,
resources.
to help you.
You don't have to do it alone.
Right. I think that's what's changed, is that there are now resources that can help you through the process.
You don't have to suffocate.
Yeah. So I think on that topic is just knowing that sometimes it's overwhelming, and you sit there and you're like, where do I start? But allow resources, let people to come in and assist you with it, and they're sensitive to what you've accumulated over the years. So if you allow that part of the process, it does get easier.
So I just wanted to add one more thing. I often work with people who live in homes and they're like, moving to a community is gonna be so difficult because I'm going from a large space to a very, to a one bedroom, and it just doesn't have the space that I have at home, and it kind of feels suffocating itself. But what and it seems to come true, but it doesn't feel like it when you're starting the search. But what I always say to people is when you go to a community, you have to look at the apartment as your bedroom and maybe a TV area. And the rest of the community is your home. The dining room, they have big dining rooms, they have libraries, they have all other features of your home. It's just not in the space that's locked up. But it all becomes your home, and sometimes it helps to just change your framework in your mind a little bit when you start looking, because it is gonna feel different, when you start looking, and you're gonna wonder if you can imagine being in a smaller space based on what you've been used to for a long
I
time.
have a question.
Sure.
This new place in Bala, that's gonna open this year? No, could you tell us what the cost is to get in there? I'm very interested, all this business about getting rid of your furniture, but I wanna know what it costs to live there. That's very important to everybody.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Good
All
to
right.
know. So let's talk cost. Go
Costs.
ahead, Dana.
Costs. I'm
Thank
making
you.
a note.
Good, good,
Okay,
good, good.
so before I actually answer that question, I'm just jumping down here for a minute. To ask this question, or make a statement. There is a value to shopping local. Okay, so lots of times you'll go on the internet and because you're looking for costs, you think you can Google it and you'll find, oh, I'll get all this information and I'll know how much. Am I in the right ballpark? This is my budget. That's not what happens. What happens is usually, most people don't give you prices over the phone or over the internet to begin
Yes,
with.
I do. I called up this place, what's that place called that I just called? Anyway, they tell you right away I say, how much does it cost? They say, $3,000 a month.
You call directly to the place.
I call the place and
Right.
they tell you how much it costs because I want to know the cost first before I even consider
Correct.
it. And I'm shocked at what they want. They're telling me $150,000 for a one bedroom, $250,000 for a two bedroom, $3,000 a month just to live there. And I thought, oh my God.
So
She
we're
said
gonna
it's
break
like-
that down
Yeah.
for you, okay? I'm gonna let the guys break it down for you, but I'm gonna just back up just a tiny bit. You are lucky because when you called, you were able to get directly to the community that you were interested in.
Yeah.
Many folks go on the internet and they Google the community, and what comes up are sort of larger national entities that serve as a clearinghouse for all the different places. Those folks could be anywhere in the country and don't know the area and don't know you. So it's really, and same thing for whether it's downsizing or real estate or whatever it is, it's really important to work with people that you trust and that understand the community and where you want to live and understand your budget. Because the worst thing that can happen is you can go see this community that said it was $3,000 and you get there and they tell you it's $6,000. Then what? That's not what you want, and you think it's beautiful and you fell in love. Now what?
Well, she
Right.
said it's like an insurance policy. You pay the $3,000 and you're actually paying for, when other people's money runs out, they keep them. And she said, you pay until your money runs out and then somebody pays for you. She says it's like an insurance policy.
Right.
And I don't know whether, I don't think I want to do that.
So where the type of place that you called is called, the acronym is CCRC. It's a Continuing Care Retirement Community. So that means there's a buy-in, there's a large sum of money that you place up front, and you have options with that money, right? You can, 90% can go back to your estate, 80% you can, there's all different ways to do it, and then you're paying more. And then on top of that, so that's the buy-in, and you're right, it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. and then you're paying a monthly rate as well. There's another model, which is, it's a one-time community fee, and it's usually somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000, let's say, and then it's month-to-month rent. Now that month-to-month rent is going to look like a lot more every month, and it is, but you're not putting all that chunk of money up front. But I'm going to that's the simplified version of it.
So if we want to go into that particular, so you have private pay, which I think is what what you were just talking about, and then you have the buy-in, which is CCRC.
What is Bala?
Bala is, we are private pay, month-to-month rental.
And you give a certain amount of money first?
No, well, yes, it's a $4,500 one-time community
Well,
fee.
that's not a lot. And
Right.
then what you pay per month?
So then it depends.
$5,000.
So can I interject from one
Sure,
second? So I
sure.
think the important part is to understand that depending on what level of care, if you need care that you're coming into, and then to understand that as you potentially live in this community, you might need some have some care needs. So the cost obviously will change accordingly based on what those care needs are. I
But
think
you
that
pay for your own, if you need more care, you pay for it.
that's
In
under.
some communities.
In some
In some communities. So I think when you're in this planning process and you're looking, like you said, budget, I want to know how much it costs.
Everybody wants it.
Right, but I think, so you need to look at it and say, okay, potentially, what's my cost today? And if I needed care, what's going to be my cost as we go down the path and need different levels of care? That's the planning part that I think with Michael and I, with longevity, we spend a lot of time working with you and the family to say, here's what your cost could potentially be today, but we also need to understand what could be your cost 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the path. And to at least know, do you have the assets and have you managed those assets in a way that you know that you could afford that cost if need be?
You know, we said that the number one choice, the reason why people don't move is I have too much stuff, right? The stuffication process. Slightly below that is, how can I afford this process? And where do we stand on this? And you're hearing that there is a variety of different entrance costs and fees and living charges and things like this. And that, your question is perfect question. There's a lot to unpack in that one question. Not making a pun on unpacking, packing, downsizing and all that stuff. There are communities that you can give them a lot of money and they take it. And they don't give it back to you or your family. There's some you give them a lot of money and they do give it back to your family or to you if you have to move, because people move between these places. There's some of you give them a lot of money, it gives you almost like a long-term care insurance kind of coverage, you know, and then you have that privilege. But at the same time, if you're not very healthy when you move into that environment, you may not have that option. They may not let you have that insurance coverage.
Or it will
So-
be higher.
Or or you just go in and when you go, you have to pay extras as it goes along. There's a lot in this. And what John, I'm
What's
sorry.
the beginning rate per month at Bala?
So
You're not saying.
I'm happy to tell you, our pricing starts at in the 6,000s. Okay, but when I say that,
$6,000 a month, you mean?
6,000 a month, in the 6,000s, it's a funny number, like
Well, we have to be
2
millionaires.
to 3.
Well,
Well, but think about this. You're no
What does that
longer
include,
paying
Dana?
for long care. You're no longer paying for heat and electricity and gas, and you're no longer paying for
Taxes.
your taxes and
Reduced homeowners.
homeowners,
Responsibilities.
insurances,
You
all
know.
the
When
responsibilities.
you start adding
of-
up all your.
and
other
food.
expenses.
And how about this? Food costs, everything's included, and we will have car service. So if you don't need your car, and there's your car, there's insurance. You can have your car. We have parking, but you don't have to have it. If you need to get somewhere, you can make an appointment with a concierge and keep going.
And I
So-
think, Lori, can I just interject here for a second? Because I think Lori,
I was just gonna.
plays such a key role in this whole, when we sit here and have this as a team, because with Lori's background and understanding the communities and the different type of communities and what's available out there, she can help navigate and help you through that process of saying, what's the best case scenario? And then once you really hone in on what you think is right for you as an individual or as a family, couple, what have you, then she'll bring in maybe David, or she'll bring in Michael and myself, and then we start putting the full plan together. But the first step is, you don't have to do this research necessarily on yourself. If you utilize somebody like Lorri and have that ability to use her expertise and to know what's out there, the job gets a lot easier, folks.
And by the way, that's a free service
Yeah.
to you.
Thank you. And the other thing that I would say is that we work with people from all different income levels. So
Yeah.
I don't think you can't afford senior living communities, because there is virtually a place for everyone. We place people all over based on what their needs are. So, and I'm a social worker, so that actually, I really love my families and love working with them.
To those financial planners, well, do you work with seniors who have this crazy concept, we boomers do, of preferring to age at home?
Yes.
And who are working hard to be sure they have the assets and the situation and the living environment?
Yes.
You know, some of us have already downsized our houses, so I'm fortunate enough to have a small ranch home, one level living.
There- There's a lot of times where, if that's your wish to stay
Age
in
in
your
place,
home
yeah.
and age in place, and what happens is we actually, in a plan, will sit there and say, well, maybe not today, maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 3 years down the road that you then want to start looking at community. That's all part of this process. Nobody says it has to be
Or
today.
never.
Or never.
Or
never.
Stay at home.
Right.
Yeah.
But
That's
so,
what I think she's hoping
but
for.
yes, yeah, there is that possibility, yeah, that if that's your wish, yes, we spend that time, because maybe when it's time, you need care in the home.
There's a fit for everybody. Like we said, there's a community that might fit everybody's particular need that they're looking for. Everybody has their own desires and wishes. And sometimes a husband will say, "Time, I want to go sit down at home," and the wife will say, "I'm ready to get out." Or vice versa. "I don't want to be here anymore and I want to do something." So you have to work together and to figure out what it might be. Or you have the perfect environment that allows you to age in place. And again, it's just a matter of having a team that can also be there to say, how can I help support it when there is an issue? If I am healthy and I'm 95 and now I have some care needs, what do I do? Am I now going to move to a community? Am I now paying $150,000 to go into a care? No, it's not going to be the situation. But what do I do? Where do I need to go? How can I get care into my home? How can I go into a place? What is it the best situation for me? And that's working with somebody that's looking at your needs, as opposed to, we need to get you in here, this is the place it is. The more times that you can spend opening your eyes to what's out there and learning, listening, you're doing it today. This is the perfect step, whether it's the 17th step already in the list, or this is the first step of doing that. It's figuring out things that you don't know and you're not aware of.
It's not a cookie cutter situation. It really isn't. Everybody has their own individual situation and have to look at it that way.
The only thing I want to add about this conversation with respect to the price of what it costs to move in. As we said, there are all different types of communities, whether they're large or small, rural or urban. There are all different types of communities from a budget perspective also. So, you can figure out what your costs are if you're thinking of moving, or what your ability to spend on a community is. We can find a community for you that fits your budget.
Mm-hmm. People don't realize what they have half the time. We find this on a regular basis, that we'll come in and we'll go through and they have their budget and they've done it well and they've lived to that budget. But they don't realize how much larger that budget can actually be without major changes or slight tweaks with certain things with their portfolio and understanding where their assets are. We uncover assets more oftentimes. I forgot about those savings bonds. Oh, we have this policy in place. We have these hidden benefits. By the way, anybody here has bought a long-term care insurance plan? Congratulations. So, great. Those that haven't bought them, that's okay too. But those that have them, you may see that you've had it for a long time and you're seeing those prices go up and you see that increase. So I know I have that coverage. That's great. It's there, but it's getting more and more expensive as the years go by. We work with families all the time where we can help you figure out to keep that robust asset, because long-term care coverage to pay for care needs in the future, it can be tremendous because it can get expensive, But you can keep that asset and pay less for it now. Actually have that be cheaper than you actually thought it's gonna take.
Look
to
at it
have in
as
the future.
as a protection of your other assets, right?
But if you get your premium reduced or keep it at an even level, because this happened with me and I didn't take advantage of it, but does your daily rate drop?
Not necessarily, not necessarily. There's just different ways of structuring because they all come with an increase, right? So there's different ways of structuring the benefit period, benefit amount, or the policy itself to potentially keep your benefit period exactly, keep your
where it is,
benefit
the
amount
benefit.
exactly the same, and look
And
at
pay
other
less.
ways.
And pay less.
So my benefit amount increases
Yep.
every year.
So you have an
We
inflation
can
rider.
talk about that, if, the one
Yeah.
on, and
Yeah.
absolutely tell you how you can save money on that.
Now, I've had my policy for like 20 years, so I have a pretty good
Mhm.
situation.
Yeah.
But if you go into a
Community.
retirement community,
Yeah.
and you need the full care, how does that work in terms of, do most places accept
You wanna
your
answer,
long-term
or you
care.
guys can answer that question?
Yeah, most
and then not have to pay the additional?
they take that into consideration. They take your policy into consideration, and they work with you on the care part of of the contract that you're doing with the community, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's correct. And the other thing you need to know is that the prices are set, right? I just told you what our pricing was. There's always wiggle room. You never, if you're working with someone like Lorri or someone like David in these communities, there are always concessions. There are always different times of year they offer different I don't know,
Incentives
specials,
or
incentives.
yeah.
And, you know, we've had situations where people have said, we really love your community and our policy covers this much and we're, you know, $400, whatever it is. And, you know, based on the business offices and whatever, those discussions do take place and things can change in that way. But, you know, we're giving you ballpark figures.
Sometimes it's interesting how that works in terms of negotiation. I had a client last month who was moving to a community, but she was so overwhelmed with her furniture and what to do, like she didn't have the right stuff and this and that. So I went to the community, and it just turned out, it was lucky, that they were changing over their model room. And so they actually gave her their furniture, and so she didn't have to worry about it. It was beautiful. So things, you know, there's different ways of negotiating that can be interesting.
Lorri, we worked on a client together that she suggested that we speak with, and this family, there were two young girls taking care of their mother, and mom needed care. But she still wanted to be somewhat independent, and Lorri found the perfect kind of community that would allow for the coverage and the environment she wanted to be in this, but there was still the cost. There was still, how do I figure out how I can take what I have and live there comfortably? And they were definitely scared of that process.
Because she was young. She's
Because
young.
she's young, she's
She's very
early
young.
'70s, and had care scenarios. So we found the right community that actually could lock in a lot of the cost for her care at that point. And we figured out, based on her excellent income that she had and certain other things that we could pivot with the children, with her assets, that she could continue to stay there for the rest of her life, get the care that she needed. And she was able to actually still do things and give to her children a little bit, because that was still an important part of her. She didn't want to spend every single dollar on care. She wanted it, and she was able to do it sooner when she could enjoy watching them enjoy some of the money. So again, it comes back to understanding what you have. Everybody has an approach. And our style from this is really that senior financial guidance. It's not, look, everybody has worked and worked and worked and worked, and then you got to this point and now you've retired, and people have helped you along the way, or you've done it on your own and you've amassed some assets, bought long-term care, have money in the bank and in portfolios. And now the question is, how do you use this effectively for your happiness at this point? Whether it's making sure you're giving money to family at times, whether you're being able to cover your own care costs when they come up. How do you look at these things? That's where the real people that work on this on a regular basis can help you project and look and put things in that kind of order.
So I also think that an important part of this discussion, which we don't have represented here today, but I always, when talking to clients, the first thing that I ask is, have you spoken to an elder lawyer? Do you have a power of attorney? Do you have a healthcare proxy? Because in the planning for your future, it's very important. We actually have a colleague here today, Ian Peltzman, you can raise your hand, who is an elder care lawyer, and it's very, very important part of the picture as you're starting the process, to get your affairs in order, so that if God forbid something happens and there's a crisis, that there's someone there to help with your healthcare decisions and also with your financials going forward.
Great point.
So,
Great.
Yes, yes. If you don't have a power of attorney, husband and wife for sure, but again, as you're on your own, if you don't have a power of attorney, it's really important that you connect with somebody. Any of us can help you, get to that juncture, but to talk about getting that in place, because it can help make a lot of decisions easier for you and for them, to help you along in the process.
And it's inexpensive, I might add. It's only a few $100s compared to a guardianship, which requires court intervention. That can be a few $1,000s.
And time.
Right.
An
I
aggravation.
recently went through the process. My son has been my power of attorney, but he gave me this homework to do. It took me 5 weeks to complete it. For all his brother-in-law's father passed away, and his wife had no concept of any of the finances ever in the house, and it was a total nightmare. So he gave me this homework to do, so he would have all the information he needed, who to contact, phone numbers, where to look for it, and it took me 5 weeks, but it was really
I had a speaker here.
Oh, the lockbox.
I don't think any of you were here. That was the whole program.
Yeah, so it's definitely important to have your children involved. Obviously, as a power of attorney, it's much more specifically, but as a show of hands, how many people are, if you're thinking of moving or if you're thinking of staying, how are you gonna be involved? Are a lot of people gonna be involving their children, or are they not gonna be involving their children? So how many people are gonna be thinking that their children are gonna be part of this process? Anybody thinking that they don't want their children involved? So it's important, right? I mean, we want to make sure that your children have some say in this, even though maybe you don't want them to have too much say. Sometimes it goes both ways, where we have clients who are really helpful, or really want their children to be helpful, and sometimes we have clients who are saying, they might be saying this, but that's not what we're doing. And so you want to make sure that factor is known, that you're involving them to the extent that you're comfortable with it, and make sure that they have some understanding what's happening.
They don't want to talk about it.
Right,
Well-
because
They don't
it's,
think I'm ever gonna die.
it's a difficult conversation, and I'm sure it was very difficult for you to have to pull all those papers together, and the 5 weeks it took you to put everything together to do this, and it's something that we'd all rather not face. It's difficult to do.
And it's very tedious. So,
Very
it's a
tedious.
But
very
once it's
tedious
done,
job.
but once
Yeah,
it's done,
exactly. It's-
then life gets a lot easier, even on the rest of the planet. I think you'll agree to that. It was very arduous.
I thought I was organized.
Right, exactly,
And,
exactly.
I
There's-
think one company that he deals with, they put this packet together that, this is what we need if you died tomorrow. So
Yeah.
he passed that on to me. And then I have a daughter that's my medical power of attorney.
Yep.
She's married to a nurse anesthetist,
Okay.
who I think would be really good at figuring out medical issues and following my living will for my medical care.
And here's another factor on the power of attorneys that we talk about all the time, that language change, and Ian, maybe you can talk to this, that over the last few years, the language in some of these power of attorneys has changed. So if you have a power of attorney that dates back over 10 years, 15 years ago, it's not a bad idea probably just to, Ian, maybe you can allude to
Yeah,
this. Just-
especially the medical power of attorney
Yep.
and the advanced healthcare directive. I get a lot of clients who come in and they show me their prior documents, and I'll look it over and I'll say, well, this doesn't waive HIPAA. We should get you a new one, because in the new forms, you need a HIPAA waiver so that your attending physicians can speak to your loved ones on your behalf about your own medical conditions. So, you know, there are various rules that have been imposed as of late that where, you know, you're grandfathered in, it's still a good idea to revisit some of these. And to your point about, you know, peace of mind once the documents are drafted, that's exactly what I tell my clients. You know, it's a bit of a process to get these documents finalized, but once they are finalized, stick them in a corner in a safe place in your home and just completely forget about it because everything's put in place.
And,
What, so.
I did a little bit each day. It's not that I spent 8 hours.
No, I understand.
I
But that's the best way to approach this, because
No, it's
some
not
things can be
required.
overwhelming. But if you take a little bite, you know, every day and get a little bit more of it done, you move through it in the process, because it will help.
I had the important papers in a fireproof, waterproof security
Perfect.
box, but they were just in there. So in this process, then I made an index for the front and it was listing which different sections have what papers.
excellent,
The
excellent.
originals.
It's
Yes,
kind of
copies.
back to our original point of making plans, you know, just being open to looking at the whole scenario now and going forward is really important, because it will really help take stress out in the end.
And for
In
the
long
kids
run.
too. I mean, it's the stress for the kids. You know, I know they don't want to have the maybe particular conversation, you're going to be here forever, but they'll appreciate the fact that it's in one place, and, you know, we do different things that obviously help organize as well, you know, as you go through the process. But at the end of the day, the children appreciate what you've done. They may not want to talk about it and appreciate it at the moment, but once it's done, it does make job a lot easier.
There's one more piece to that, and that is, you're here now, you're planning for the future, but you should be able to enjoy now and live your life, right?
Yep.
So lots of folks will say, oh, I want to leave it for the kids. I'm afraid to spend it. I don't have if I only had a crystal ball and I knew how long I was going to live, right? Or what could I take that one vacation, that extra vacation?
Yeah.
Could I do something? So planning helps you kind of put that in perspective, right?
No, I
and
agree.
and enables you to and empowers you to live your best life now.
Yeah, there is that saying about if you were saving for a rainy day, at this age, it's raining.
Look outside.
Yeah,
Look
well
outside.
said.
We-
Spend a little on
We
yourself.
100% concur. You know, from a financial advisory standpoint, we educate so you have a better handle of understanding what you have. Everybody just here just did taxes, correct? Everybody get back large refunds? Oh, owing money this year, huh? It's one of those kind of years. So with proper planning, it could be either not as much owed, or better yet, use of the dollars so that your taxes aren't as high. Some communities, because of the way you pay into certain things like long-term care insurances, certain things you have deductions for. And there's a way that you have income coming in, maybe you don't have to give so much to Uncle Sam. That's not a bad thing. And that kind of planning allows you to make decisions currently and in the future. We want you to use your money. You spent the time accumulating it, amassing it. It's time for you to enjoy it. But with the opportunity to talk about planning, you can still cover things that you want to accomplish in the future, but also protect your current wants, needs now and in the future.
And if I'm just on top of what Michael just said, if you have an existing, maybe you have a financial planner, maybe you have somebody you work with at this particular time, that's great. Our goal is not to replace anybody. And when your team, you have a team, it's how to address what's happening at this stage of your life. It's a different ballgame. It's a different time. You have to look at things a little bit different. So even if you have that advisor, planner, what have you, we welcome that conversation, because now we're going to bring in, well, what happens if you need care? What happens if you want to move into a different situation? Michael says, utilize the dollars that you have, because you've amassed this fortune based on your years of working. So let's figure out the right way to utilize those dollars.
When you were saying about home values going up, you
Yep.
know, the city of Philadelphia just approved a budget, and they're not going to raise anybody's taxes, but they're going to raise the assessed value of your home. which essentially raises your
Your
real
taxes.
estate tax.
Right, right.
Nice way
But
to
they
say
won't
it.
come out and say it, it's annoying. And I feel badly for people that aren't realizing that, oh, good, our taxes aren't going up. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They're just calling it something different.
A lot of people pay those taxes in their mortgage payments, so it'll go up, you know,
Yeah.
a small
Yeah.
1/12 a year, 1/12, whatever.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
An increase 1/12 a month. Okay, so, I'm looking at the clock, you guys are,
Yeah.
you've been a terrific audience. I wanna maybe see if there's any final questions, and maybe you could fill out the form so that we can do a drawing. We'll be available for questions after, I don't know whether this room is being used again at 11:30, I don't know what, I don't wanna get kicked out. It does seem like the sun is coming out, so it might be a good time to leave. I forgot my umbrella.
I use that as an omen, it's a good.
Yes.
One other thing, in that process, I ended up updating my will and getting
Yep.
everything notarized.
Yep.
My sister's my executrix of
Yep.
the will. So I kept that, but
I
So
think
we're
it's all
kinda
part of
spreading
the,
things
it's
out.
all part of the package, right? You always review that document as well as you review the power of attorney to make sure that it's still the right way of, in place.
Speaking of wills, I learned this yesterday. Does anybody know the difference between, and Ian, don't answer. Does anybody know the difference between a springing power of attorney and non-springing power of attorney?
never heard the term.
Right, so, and which one might be better or not, and again, there's a lawyer in the room who knows what he's talking about, so I'm not that person, but a springing power of attorney, I believe, means that the power of attorney occurs, or the power invested in the power of attorney happens when a condition occurs, as opposed to one that's standing at all times. So let's say you're on vacation, and, you know, something happens in your home, and you need to make a decision about whether to have the home, you need your power of attorney to make a decision for you, and you can't be there. If the condition hasn't been met in a springing power of attorney, that person who you're relying on really doesn't have their authority. So a springing power of attorney might not be what you're looking for when it comes to that issue. Dana said that there'd be other questions involved in terms of history or lessons for the green bags. I just want to make sure that everybody remembers something, right?
Right.
Also, the durable power of attorney versus non-durable, one terminates on your death, right?
Yeah, 99.9% of
It's
the
okay.
powers of attorney I see are durable powers of attorney. The non-durable is kind of an outdated, antiquated term for a system of powers of attorney that no longer exist, really. And to your point, yes, springing powers of attorney are 50% complete once you sign them. They are 100% complete upon an intervening act that renders you completely incapacitated, as certified by 2 attending physicians who will have to attest to that through affidavits.
So you don't want that.
So if you ever put a power of attorney together where you said, I don't want anybody to touch my money until I'm really sick, and it says it in that power of attorney, it's not a good one to have to make sure that life may make it easier when stuff comes down the road.
Does anybody remember the last color your brain remembers?
Before you leave, do you want to see if you win a,
I'm not giving out personal info, guys.
oh, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. Have a good day.
Green.
Found this very helpful. I'd like to thank you.
No, Ian, great, thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
One more. When is the best time to plan for your future?
Or you need it.
Yesterday. You got it.
You're welcome. One comment that
Yes, yeah.
I was saying that I was expecting a list of senior housing that you guys would suggest for folks.
Okay.
I mean, not this vague stuff here. I was expecting senior living options, places that people could check out.
If you
That's
go,
what I was expecting.
Ah.
if you go to S3
Yeah,
Living,
if you got the computer, yeah.
yeah, you don't have
But a lot of people don't have computers. I mean, we seniors.
you have an email?
No, it's part of the email.
That's part of the computer. So if you like, I can download from the website the list of communities that are available for your information. I can mail it to you.
Okay, that
Would you
would
like
be
that?
great. Okay.
Great. Just make sure I have your information.
I think Kristen's collecting.
Kristen's gone? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Any other
Thank you
questions?
so much.
All right, well then, let's,
Let's do it. We have 4 prizes to give away.
okay.
We already gave 2. Kristen is folding them and she's gonna pick them out.
I am?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're unbiased.
Alrighty. We're picking out 4?
Yes. We're gonna leave the prize that is the Echo Dot last. Does everybody know what this is? This is an Alexa device. You can call it, you can say, Alexa, where's my phone? Alexa, where are my keys? Alexa, what's the temperature?
That's the temperature.
Alexa, is it gonna rain
Play some
tomorrow?
music.
Play some music, right?
You ready for me?
Yes, we're ready. Hit me.
All right, the first one is Tom Stone.
Tom
Tom
Stone.
Stone, all right.
There you go, Tom Stone.
Woohoo!
All right, Tom.
Sorry. Alexa's the grand prize. Go ahead. We need 3 more.
Edith.
Is he it?
Oh,
Okay, Edith?
yay, Edith.
Yeah, there you go. That's lunch. I'm gonna deliver it.
Grace Glenn.
Grace?
Here you go, Grace.
Yay, Grace.
Last one, right?
Last one.
And the last one is for the Echo Dot. What do you got?
Carolyn Lee.
Carolyn Lee.
Hey, Carol. Oh, fantastic.
Carolyn Lee, here at the Echo Dot.
Wonderful. Well,
Good.
thank you all.
Thank you.
We hope it was helpful. Feel free to reach out to any of us with any questions. Our information is on the back table. And we are all good community partners and resources for you. So feel free.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.